What if I told you there's someone alive today? Someone who has walked the earth for hundreds of years, seen empires rise and fall, and met some of the most famous figures in history. Yet no one seems to know who he really is. Sounds insane, right? But the evidence is out there. Letters, paintings, and accounts from people who swear they met him decades or even centuries apart. Some say he's a genius. Some say he's a fraud. But what if the truth is far darker and far more unbelievable than anyone has dared to admit?
Who is this mysterious figure? A secret manipulator behind major events? An immortal alchemist who unlocked the code of life? Or just the world's most elaborate myth? Meant to keep us chasing shadows while real power moves in silence. Stick with me, because today we're peeling back the curtain on centuries of secrets, following the trail of a man who might have cheated death and changed the course of history without anyone noticing. By the end of this video, you'll start seeing the past in a completely new light. And you might even wonder if someone like him is still watching you right now.
Let's start with the first clue, the people he surrounded himself with. Some call him a charlatan, others a genius, but the sheer number of influential figures linked to him is impossible to ignore. Kings, queens, artists, and scientists all seem to have crossed paths with this shadowy figure, and yet, strangely, no one could ever pin him down. How does a man manage to gain access to the most powerful circles for centuries and never leave a trace that ties him to time itself? Critics call it coincidence. Skeptics call it myth. But the records exist. And here's the controversial part. Some historians quietly suggest he may have played a hand in shaping events we assume happened naturally. Then there's the matter of knowledge and innovation. Stories claim he mastered languages instantly, composed music that stuns even today's maestros, and possessed insight into sciences centuries ahead of his time. Sounds like a genius, right? Or a time traveler? The debate is fierce. Some argue he was simply an elite polymath, a human anomaly born once in a millennium. Others whisper darker theories. He was manipulating knowledge, trading secrets with the powerful to maintain influence across generations. If that's true, it suggests a level of control over society that feels unnatural. And here's where the line blurs. The more you dig, the more you realize that myth and history may have been intentionally blurred, perhaps to hide the fact that someone may have been quietly running the show behind the curtain.
And it doesn't stop there. Art, literature, even secret societies are littered with his alleged footprints. Paintings depict faces eerily similar to eyewitness accounts spanning centuries. Manuscripts contain cryptic references that some say are coded messages left by him or for him. Controversial historians argue that mainstream academia ignores these patterns, dismissing them as coincidence or fantasy. But when you line them up, it's hard not to see a pattern. A man who appears immortal, shaping history in ways we're only just beginning to recognize. Some say it's absurd to think one man could wield such influence undetected, but if the evidence is real, the alternative is even scarier. What if the world has always been subtly manipulated by someone we can't touch, can't understand, and maybe can't even imagine?
Now, let's talk about influence. This mysterious man didn't just appear at royal courts and grand parties. He allegedly shaped them. Some argue he was merely a charming socialite, but the records hint at something far more unsettling. Consider the revolutions, alliances, and sudden shifts in power across Europe over the centuries. Historians often attribute these to chance, ideology, or the will of the people. But what if a single hidden figure quietly nudged events to his liking? It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but there are documents, letters, and eyewitness accounts that suggest his fingerprints might be there. The controversy is explosive. Is history really what we've been taught, or has it been carefully curated by someone with centuries of foresight and manipulation? Then there's the debate over wealth and resources. How does someone maintain influence for centuries without leaving a trace of inheritance or a family tree? Some claim he lived off alchemy, rare artifacts, or secret financial dealings that spanned nations. Skeptics call this fantasy, dismissing it as a myth spun by romantics and conspiracy theorists. But the consistency of accounts across time is hard to ignore. Letters from nobles, diary entries from scholars, and even personal anecdotes from artists suggest a man who had access to unlimited resources, knowledge, and power. Controversial? Absolutely. But it raises uncomfortable questions. If he existed, did he pull strings behind wars, art movements, and politics without anyone realizing it? And if he did, does that mean history as we know it is a carefully constructed illusion? Finally, consider the cultural impact. Art, music, and literature often contain subtle references to him, or at least to a figure that matches eyewitness descriptions. Some argue these were coincidences or myths that evolved over time. But skeptics who dig deeper find an uncanny pattern, recurring symbols, phrases, and portraits that seem to trace a single enigmatic life across centuries. Debates rage among historians. Is it genius, coincidence, or evidence of a man who lived longer than any of us could imagine? And here's the uncomfortable thought. The longer you study these patterns, the more plausible it seems that one individual might have quietly influenced human civilization. It's a theory many dismiss as heresy, but if true, it forces us to ask, who really controls history? And are we just pawns in a game we barely understand? Now, let's zoom in on the events that some say he directly influenced. History books often tell us that revolutions, discoveries, and major political shifts happen because of ideology or luck. But what if that's just the story we're supposed to believe? Take the rise and fall of empires in Europe. Some sources hint at an enigmatic presence behind the scenes, subtly guiding decisions, whispering ideas to kings and generals, even funding ventures that changed the course of nations. Skeptics scoff. calling it fantasy or conspiracy, but when the same mysterious figure seems to pop up at multiple turning points over centuries, coincidence starts to feel suspicious. Was he shaping history for his own purposes, or was he testing humanity, seeing what we're capable of when nudged in certain directions?
Then there's the arts and sciences. Painters, composers, and inventors have all left cryptic clues suggesting that he might have mentored or inspired them. Some argue these are coincidences. Others say it's the result of rumor and exaggeration. But patterns emerge that are hard to ignore. Letters, diaries, and coded messages appear to reference a man with impossible longevity, mastery of multiple disciplines, and uncanny foresight. Controversially, some scholars suggest that if he truly existed, he may have engineered entire cultural movements, not merely participating, but actively guiding art, science, and politics across centuries. Imagine that, a single person quietly pulling strings that shape human progress while the world continues obliviously.
And here's the part that makes most people uncomfortable. Mainstream history largely ignores these anomalies. Academics dismiss them as myths, skeptics ridicule them as conspiracy fodder. But what if that dismissal is part of the cover-up? What if acknowledging a man like this would shatter our understanding of history, power, and mortality itself? The debate is explosive. Do we trust the established narrative? Or do we consider that centuries of human events might have been quietly manipulated by someone we're not meant to understand? Here's where things get truly unsettling. While historians debate his existence, there are consistent accounts of a man who seemed to defy time itself, appearing youthful in every century he touched. Some call him a master of disguise or a skilled con man. Others whisper far darker theories: alchemy, forbidden sciences, or even deals that would make your jaw drop. Critics argue it's all fantasy, the kind of story meant to entertain idle curiosity. But when these descriptions keep surfacing in private letters, diaries, and elite gossip over hundreds of years, it's hard to write them off as mere legend. And here's the kicker. If he really existed, then the question isn't just who he was, but why no one ever caught him. His habits and behaviors only deepen the mystery. Reports suggest he lived extravagantly yet cautiously, moving through social circles without leaving a family, estate, or clear inheritance. He was brilliant, cultured, and impossible to pin down. A man who dined with kings one night and appeared in obscure salons the next. Some claim he manipulated knowledge, subtly steering politics and culture for centuries. Skeptics call this preposterous, saying no one could hold such sway for so long. But the evidence, paintings, manuscripts, and eyewitness accounts keeps piling up. The controversy intensifies. Was he a genius playing the long game, or a predator hiding in plain sight, orchestrating events while the world slept?
And here's where debates explode. If one man could live through centuries, influencing events, shaping minds, and avoiding death, what does that mean for our understanding of mortality, power, and control? Was he a savior, guiding humanity? A manipulator, shaping chaos for personal gain, or something far stranger that science and religion refuse to explain? Academics dismiss these theories as sensationalist, while conspiracy theorists herald him as proof of humanity's hidden possibilities. Either way, it forces us to reconsider the foundations of history, questioning whether we truly understand the forces that have shaped civilization, or if we've been blinded by myths designed to hide the extraordinary. And perhaps the most controversial thought of all, if such a figure could exist once, could he still be walking among us today, quietly influencing the world as we know it?
One of the most shocking aspects of this mysterious figure is the sheer scope of his travels. Accounts place him in royal courts in France, secret gatherings in Venice, underground salons in London, and even distant parts of Eastern Europe, all within decades, sometimes overlapping in ways that make no logical sense. Critics argue that these are simply different people being mistaken for the same man, but eyewitness descriptions are eerily consistent. The same mannerisms, the same piercing gaze, the same inexplicable charisma. It raises a question few dare ask. Could one individual really influence multiple nations simultaneously without leaving verifiable records? Skeptics say no, but the patterns suggest otherwise, and the implications are disturbing. And his influence wasn't just social, it was political and economic too. Some documents suggest he had a hand in negotiating alliances, funding wars, and even guiding scientific discoveries, all while remaining a ghost in official records. Controversial historians argue that if these accounts are true, it means the world's political and cultural trajectory may have been subtly guided by someone operating completely off the historical radar. Was he a hidden hand shaping the world for personal gain, or an unseen guardian ensuring certain events unfolded in a precise way? Either possibility sparks debate. Do we admire his genius, or fear his manipulation? And then there's the unnerving suggestion that his reach continues even today. Some theorists claim traces of his presence appear in modern elites, secret societies, and unexplained patterns of influence in global events. Skeptics scoff, calling it paranoid nonsense, but the consistency of historical reports raises eyebrows. If a single figure could operate undetected for centuries, influencing politics, art, and science, why should we assume he stopped in the modern era? The controversy is explosive. Either history is as we've been taught, or someone or something has been quietly steering human civilization for centuries.
Some of the most compelling and unsettling evidence about this man comes from the mysteries that refuse to be solved. Hidden manuscripts, coded letters, and unexplained artworks all point to a life that defies logic and reason. Scholars often dismiss these as myths or fabrications, but what if the dismissal itself is part of a larger cover-up? There are historians who quietly suggest that mainstream academia has ignored or even actively suppressed records that might prove he existed. The debate is fierce. Are these anomalies simply coincidences, or do they indicate a hidden influence that has shaped events for centuries without our knowledge?
Then there are the whispers of secret societies and elite networks that allegedly knew him, or perhaps still do. Some suggest he played a role in founding, funding, or advising these hidden organizations, which would explain the secrecy surrounding his life. Skeptics dismiss this as conspiracy theory paranoia,
but the recurring patterns of symbolism in art, architecture, and literature hint at a knowledge network far older than most historians acknowledge. If he truly influenced these groups, it would mean that human history isn't just a series of random events. It's a carefully orchestrated game controlled by unseen hands. The controversy here is explosive. Either we live in a world shaped by chance, or we are pawns in a centuries-long strategy designed by someone we might never fully understand.
And finally, the most provocative question of all: could he still be alive? The consistent eyewitness descriptions spanning centuries, his uncanny knowledge, and the patterns of influence all suggest the unthinkable. Critics argue that immortality is impossible, and yet the evidence, if interpreted literally, paints a picture that cannot be ignored. The debates rage not only among historians and scientists, but also among philosophers and conspiracy theorists. Is humanity witnessing the legacy of a man who truly cheated death, or are we being duped by centuries of myth-making? If he exists, or existed, he challenges everything we know about mortality, power, and the very concept of human achievement.
One of the most fascinating and infuriating aspects of this mysterious figure is the legacy he allegedly left behind, hidden in plain sight. Some claim he created or influenced works of art, music, and science that were far ahead of their time, only for them to be attributed to others or dismissed as miraculous coincidences. Critics call these claims nonsense, insisting that genius naturally appears in isolated bursts, but the consistency of his influence across centuries is hard to ignore. Imagine a single individual quietly shaping human knowledge, leaving hints in manuscripts, letters, and paintings, while the world takes credit for the ideas centuries later. The controversy here is undeniable. Are we celebrating our history, or are we unknowingly glorifying a carefully orchestrated illusion?
Then there's the matter of science and invention. Some accounts suggest he experimented with techniques and ideas centuries before they became modern discoveries. Skeptics argue this is pure myth, a narrative built by romantic storytellers. But there are strange coincidences, works of chemistry, early prototypes of machines, and mathematical notes that suggest a mind far ahead of its era. Some historians quietly speculate that he may have intentionally influenced progress, guiding humanity towards certain technological or cultural outcomes while remaining anonymous. The debate is explosive. If true, it implies that innovation is not purely human, but the result of a long game played by one elusive individual manipulating events from the shadows. And perhaps the most controversial aspect is how intentionally hidden his contributions appear to be. Why would someone so brilliant refuse recognition, leaving history to attribute his achievements to others? Some argue it's humility, others suspect a desire to remain untouchable, or even immortal. The implications are profound. If a single person can silently shape centuries of human achievement, it calls into question our assumptions about genius, authorship, and even free will. Are humans really the architects of their own progress? Or are we following a path carved out by someone we'll never fully understand?
Here's where things get truly mind-bending. The question of immortality. Eyewitnesses across centuries describe the same man, unchanged, youthful, and impossibly aware of events that span generations. Some argue that he must have discovered some secret to extend life, or even cheat death entirely. Skeptics immediately label this as myth-making, superstition, or exaggeration, insisting that no human could survive the passage of time unscathed. But the consistency of descriptions, combined with records of his sudden appearances and disappearances in major cities and courts, makes it difficult to dismiss entirely.
Then there's the possibility of mastery over perception itself. Could he have used disguise, psychology, and manipulation to create the illusion of immortality? Some historians argue that his brilliance was in controlling narrative, making powerful people believe in his invincibility while he quietly navigated through time. But consider the counter-argument. The sheer volume of accounts over centuries makes a perfect deception nearly impossible. Letters, paintings, and reports from multiple countries all point to a single figure, same face, same demeanor, same enigma. Controversial scholars suggest that if he didn't truly live for hundreds of years, then someone or a network of people must have gone to extraordinary lengths to construct and maintain his legend. Either interpretation is explosive, forcing us to reconsider what is possible and what we think we know about human life itself.
And here's the debate that gets most people talking. If one man could live, or appear to live, for centuries, influencing politics, culture, and science, what does that mean for our understanding of power, mortality, and history? Was he a benevolent guide, quietly steering humanity, or a manipulative puppet master, orchestrating chaos for his own purposes? Academics dismiss him, skeptics ridicule him, yet the whispers persist, growing louder as each century passes. Accepting even the possibility of his immortality forces a reckoning. Maybe history has been shaped not just by events and ideas, but by a single, elusive individual whose influence defies logic and whose secrets we may never fully uncover.
After tracing centuries of whispers, letters, paintings, and unexplained influence, here's the question nobody wants to ask. What if this mysterious figure never really left? What if he's still alive today, walking among us, unnoticed, shaping events quietly while the world remains oblivious? Skeptics will scoff, dismissing it as fantasy or conspiracy, yet the pattern of influence across centuries is undeniable. The controversy is staggering. Either history as we know it is accurate, and all these accounts are coincidences, or we've been living in a carefully orchestrated illusion with one man or entity pulling strings behind the scenes.
And here's the twist that will make you question your own reality. Some evidence suggests that the signs of his presence are embedded in the modern world. Symbols, patterns, and influence in politics, technology, and culture that eerily mirror historical footprints. Controversial historians argue that mainstream scholarship ignores these connections intentionally, afraid of the implications. Others suggest it's just paranoia. But when you start connecting the dots, the coincidences start to feel deliberate. The debate is explosive. Are we living in a world guided by hidden forces, or is this a cautionary tale about the limits of human understanding?
The implications are staggering. If one individual could shape centuries, then the power structures we trust today may be nothing more than a continuation of a centuries-old game.
So here's the final provocation. Keep your eyes open. The man, or his legacy, could be closer than you think. Every unexplained genius, every sudden shift in power, every hidden pattern could be part of a larger story you were never meant to see. Some will dismiss this as paranoia, some as myth, but that's exactly what makes it dangerous, fascinating, and impossible to ignore. History may have hidden him from us for a reason, but now the question is in your hands. Will you see the world as it is, or continue believing the version carefully presented to you? The debate doesn't end here. It begins with you. And maybe, just maybe, you've already crossed paths with immortality without even realizing it.